Northwestern University, 1964. While working towards PhDs in both industrial engineering and computer science, Jacques Vallée encourages his mentor, J. Allen Hynek, to consider investigating not only reports of objects in the sky, but also evidence on the ground.
I kept talking to him about landings, which he called it close encounters, and the term stuck, of course. I just called it landings, where there were traces on the ground and so on that could be looked at physically. And then he said, but you go through the Air Force files and you're going to see very, very few landings. And I said, well, let me go through the files and I'll show you some landings. The reason they didn't show up was that they were all explained as aberrations or hallucinations. But you would find very credible witnesses and you would find traces. And the thing that clinched it was the case in Socorro, New Mexico. In Socorro, not only was there a landing, there were beings.
Socorro, New Mexico, April 24th, 1964, 5:45 p.m. While chasing a speeding car, Police Sergeant Lonnie Zamora hears a thunderous roar and sees a flame in the sky to the southwest. Thinking a local dynamite shack might have exploded, Zamora leaves the chase to investigate.
I sort of glanced out the window, looked to my left. I saw this white egg-shaped looking object.
Lonnie Zamora sees something, a landed craft, essentially egg-shaped. He sees some figures, and he says afterwards they were either big children or small adults, which again raises the question, were these extraterrestrials, as many believe? Suddenly, when he got reasonably close, they got back in, and this thing took off.
Zamora examined the area with fellow police sergeant Sam Chavez. Both officers documented that the brush was burning in several places, and the object had left 4 perpendicular impressions on the ground. Dozens of other investigators arrived on the scene shortly after the incident, and in the days that followed.
You had actually 4 levels of investigation. You had the Socorro cops, you had the FBI that happened to be there, you had the security detail from the airfield, you had special investigations with the Air Force sending Dr. Hynek, and that became part of Project Blue Book as an unidentified by all the investigators who had been there.
I certainly believe that Lonnie Zamora had a most interesting and significant experience, and I'm particularly interested in the tracks that were left and in the analysis of the samples of material from those tracks. And until you know more about it, all I can say, rather disappointingly to you perhaps, is simply that I'm as puzzled as you are.
Jacques told me that it was this case that was more or less the straw that broke the camel's back that made my father feel comfortable speaking about beings as opposed to just crafts in public.
It was a difficult transition for Dr. Hynek to admit that, yes, not only were landings important, but they were the greatest source of actual physical data that you could take to the lab.
For Jacques Vallée, collecting data is the key to solving the UFO mystery. As part of his effort to create a global UFO database, Vallée, with the help from Dr. Hynek, began building an international network of scientists investigating the phenomenon. They called themselves the Invisible College, taking the name from a group of 18th century European scholars.
This was similar to what happened in the 18th century. with the Invisible College, and they did a lot of early astronomy, early physics, chemistry, biology, and so on. And the only reason they were not hung or killed as witches was because they were protected by the king. Dr. Hynek thought we were sort of the new iteration of the Invisible College. People like Costa de Beauregard in France, like Professor Chauvin in France, were internationally known in their fields, biology, relativity, and so on. But they were very interested in talking about UFOs with us. Of course, this was very secret.
The Invisible College began in Dr. Hynek's home, where weekly or monthly he would have scientists from all around the world visit his house, and there they would discuss the UFO topic. But they all were sworn to secrecy because at the time, you couldn't talk about it in seriousness, especially in the world of academia.